Do you want to know what it takes to run a 100-mile race? So I have no idea. I have yet to finish one. However, this is what I'm doing to train and prepare for my 100-mile race in 3 days.
And at the end of this video, I ask a few very experienced ultra runners who have completed 100-mile races, what is the one thing that they would prioritize in training for one of these? If you saw the last video, you know that running is not my favorite thing to do in the whole world, so don't worry, this channel is not going to strictly running. There's just gonna be a little of these things sprinkled in there. But before we get started, I wanna remind you that
you are now watching the third most watched YouTube channel. We are just here early.
let's talk about the 4 things I'm prioritizing to make sure I finish this race. Number 1, time on feet. What that simply means is doing long runs.
Roughly how far is this?
I think it's like 19.
Perfect. From mile 27, I'm going 20 miles.
10 or 11 miles today.
5-mile day. Turned into 12. Close to 70 miles last week.
If you're only running a few miles, even if it's every day, you won't be able to simulate the pains and variables that you'll deal with in a 100-mile race.
Moving a whole hell of a lot slower than I thought I would. Not a good day. I'm struggling. I have no water. I just want to get this over with. My feet hurt. Plantar fasciitis is really bad. So one key thing I always remember is a bad training day is a good training day. Meaning that when everything goes wrong, that you're learning the most. Because you're not going to grow, be prepared for a long day when everything's going right. It's a good training day, I suppose. It didn't go as planned. You need to prepare for all of the elements.
I think it's a lot harder to motivate yourself to run in this crap when it's a training day, pouring rain. The second thing you're gonna wanna have figured out before race day is your gear. Everyone's gonna have their own preferences and things that they like to use. That's why those long training days are gonna be important, because you can test out different things ahead of time. Some of the main gear you're gonna wanna have is shoes. Although there are some lunatics that run these things barefoot. Savages. If your run is on a trail, you're gonna wanna run in trail shoes and not road shoes. I'm gonna be running in these Topo trail shoes and have a second pair if I need to switch mid-race, say they get wet for some reason.
Not really a fan of these new socks. My feet, I think, are swelling. My toenail was scratching on the inside. And then I also noticed my heel.
Obviously, you're gonna want a pair of good socks to go in the shoes, and it took me quite a few testing before I found these Injinji toe socks, which seem to work perfect, and the separation in the toes help reduce the blistering. I also got a tip from Bobby Andrews to lather my feet up with CBD cream before putting the socks on, which really did wonders for my feet. 100 miles is a long distance, which means you gotta carry a lot of stuff. So you're gonna test packs, hydration feature, headlamps, we'll be going through the night, rain gear. Well, this is the first time I've ever used this rain jacket. Anti-friction creams to avoid chafing. Having all of that tested and broken in can help minimize something going wrong on the day of the race. And that brings us to the third thing, which is nutrition, your fuel, the energy that's gonna keep you going.
I'm gonna need to be taking in about 250 calories per hour, and it can take me up to 35 hours to very minimal time to stop, so you'll be eating while running most of the time, which means that during training, you gotta try a bunch of different foods to see what is good for your body. I got this gel. It's disgusting. I'm not a fan of it. I found that peanut butter really gives me bad indigestion, which means I don't want to eat that when I'm running. So it's important to experiment with different foods, and you don't want to introduce anything new day of the race. All right, we're interrupting this run and video because there's manta rays. We're gonna swim with the manta rays. How cool is that?
Do they sting or no?
This literally just made my day. All right, back to the video.
The last and arguably one of the most important things to focus on, mindset. At some point in the race, you're gonna wanna give up. And if you don't want it bad enough, you will.
I gave up. I full on gave up. I thought I was over. I guess I'm not out.
So once again, those really long days build that familiar feeling.
It's way more difficult than I thought it was gonna be. That was really, really good training. I am absolutely just toasted.
And also you could do things like meditation or cold plunges to build that discipline. And I did lots of cold plunges. A lot of what you learn in these ultra races and long distances is very symbolic to life. You have highs, you have lows, and there's a lot of lessons that you can take away and apply it to outside of the race.
So one thing I learned running quickly down these hills to avoid tripping on rocks is you want to look at where you are going, where you want to plant your foot. You don't want to look at the rock, because then you'll end up hitting the rocks. It's called target fixation, which is actually a great metaphor for life. You scan all of the things that you want to avoid quickly, but then you put all of your focus on where you're going. Because if you put the focus on what you're trying to avoid, then you end up hitting what you're trying to avoid. If you put the focus on your target, more than likely you'll hit your target.
And just like in life, everybody's approach is going to be a little different. And what you may need to finish a 100-mile race might be a little different than me. Which is why I asked 3 extremely experienced ultra runners who have completed a 100-mile race. Bobby's actually done 240-mile races. And I asked them if they could prioritize one thing with training, what would it be? What's up, Jacob? Bobby. Hey, Kenz.
I would say months before, manifest this experience in your mind.
It's gonna have to go for mindset, 100%. One of the most important things that you have to think about and train for.
It's not all physical.
The food and the water and all the gear and things are gonna happen, and every race has its variables, but your mindset is gonna get you to the finish line.
Embracing this experience.
You have to be strong and you have to be stubborn.
And understand that once you even get past your longest mile, every extra mile is a huge win and a step forward. If you keep progressing in that way, you will certainly get to that 100-miler. Enjoy.
You have to callous your mind. You have to be harder than any other mother out there.
I'd have to say the most important thing for training for a 100-mile race would be to run. Imagine that.
I knew you would say that.
Because a whole bunch of swimming's not going to make you a better runner. Who would have fucking thought? Put in the work.
Just trying to move forward.
I hope you learned something in this video. I am headed out to apply these things to the second attempt at a 100-mile race this weekend. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on that video, because at the end of it, I'm gonna announce the next challenge, which is the biggest yet.